Hello everyone, welcome to today's episode of Let's Talk Footy featuring Toronto High Park Football Club. I'm your host Shaheen, and today I'm sitting down with a very special guest. Today we have Canada Soccer's U15 National Head Coach Eric Tenllado, who's also the Regional Excel Director for U12 to U17 age groups. Eric used to be the Director of Competitive Programs here at Toronto High Park Football Club, so we're delighted to have him. Today we're going to discuss Eric's journey as a soccer player, as a soccer coach, what made him become a soccer coach. We're going to discuss some of the programs that he's involved with Canada Soccer, programs that they're offering to community clubs such as Toronto High Park Football Club, and we're going to discuss topics such as coach and player development. So sit back and enjoy. Hi, Eric. How are you? Welcome to the show. Thanks for accepting to be on the show. It's my pleasure to have you.
Yeah, thank you, Shaheen. It's my pleasure to be here as well, and such an important club on my personal and professional pathway. So every time I can give something back, it's my pleasure.
Yeah, exactly. And I wanted to say when I joined the club, unfortunately you had already left and moved on. But everybody that I've talked to ever since I've joined, parents, players, coaches, everybody only has really, really good and positive things to say. And they always talk about the impact you had at the club. So on behalf of Toronto High Park Football Club, I would like to thank you for all the hard work that you've done.
I think one of my mentors once said that the most important is what people will say about you when everything is done, right? So now that everything is gone, now that is a year and a half, almost 2 years that I left, hearing from you that the most important people at the club, the players, the parents, the coaches, the administrators, the volunteers, still have good memories about my time at the club. I think that's the most important. I don't even remember what I teach my first month at the club or what I was looking for or what, but I remember the people, and if the people remembers me and my good intentions with them, that's the most important to me.
100% definitely. And that's why I decided to do this podcast. I wanted to, before we get into our soccer discussions and stuff, I wanted to just ask you about your personal journey as a football player and as a coach, the things that you went through, and then why you decided to become a coach. If you could just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think everything starts with my parents and the education I got home. And my parents always considered that it was important for me as their first child to be active, to do sport. So what I started doing at 4 or 5 years of age is I stayed after school for a few days after school doing multi-sport. So just physical activity, nothing related with sport, like physical literacy games. And then at the age of 6, I believe I started playing basketball. And I played basketball because my school was offering a basketball program. They didn't have a soccer program or any other program. So basketball was really the only option I had. And it was about 94, 6, 5, 95, 96, 97 that I was playing basketball. So now with the last dance recently, so you can see that the only thing I had there is Michael Jordan and the Bulls. But I think, and something I said to my friend, one of my friends the other day, I said, look, I was lucky enough at that time that we didn't have the technology and the social media and the connection to watch more of the Bulls, more of Michael Jordan, because if I was able to do it, as I did the last month, maybe I never played football. Maybe I would stick playing basketball because such a good player, such an athlete, such a legend, right? So at the age of 6, ending my 6, getting to 7 years old, there's another legend in sport, and that time is in Barcelona, and is Ronaldo Nazario, playing for Barcelona, my hometown, and now being able to see him week on and week off, right? Like when he was in Barcelona, I was able to see him live. When not, I was able to go to the bar and watch him on TV, because I never had private TV at home. I just had got public TV, so I wasn't able to see the games on the weekend. So you either go to the stadium or you go to somewhere in a pub where you can watch games. But I was lucky enough, and he was the guy that I watched him on TV, and I said, I just want to play football. And it was myself, and I think that's something really important, and I always value. No one asked me or signed me for football. I asked my parents to sign me for football, and I had to fight for when I was 6 and 7 years old, because they were telling me, but you are already doing twice a week multi-sport, you're doing already twice a week basketball, and that's what they wanted. They want me to be active. And I said, yeah, but I want to play football. And I think I played basketball and football for a few years, like combining both sports. And after when I was 9, my parents said, look, you have to choose. And you have to choose because you can manage your training schedule. So Monday, Wednesday, you go to football. Tuesday, Thursday, you go to basketball. But on Saturdays, you're having conflicts and we cannot drive you everywhere. So I decided to play football. And again, I don't know, it's because I wasn't able to watch Michael Jordan and I was able to see Ronaldo and then Ronaldo left and Rivaldo came and Figo was there and Guardiola was there and such amazing players, right? But I decided to play football. I played football at my town. I'm from a little town right in the border with Barcelona. So it's Barcelona, but it's not downtown. Let's say based in Toronto, it will be Mississauga. So I was in Mississauga related to Toronto if it's Barcelona. And my town is not a town with a big football fans. So it's basketball is huge and other sports. It's more a cultural kind of town. So with 7 years old, I was playing with 9 years old. When 8 years old, I was playing with 10 years old. And my first year, I was horrible. I was horrible. You are learning the sport, but I was lucky enough. And on social media, there were some videos of Guardiola when he was at the 96. He was a football player teaching in some videos. So that was a series of videos that came out in 96. So with a newspaper, every weekend, you were able to get one video cassette to watch on TV. So there was 10 chapters. Chapter 1 was about receiving, and you have players like Guardiola or Julen Guerrero, currently a U15 head coach at Spain national team, big legend at Athletic Club Bilbao. Aitor Karanka was there for the individual defensive fundamentals. Kiko Narvaez was there. Big legends in Spain at this time, and I was able to just watch those videos myself because of my passion of the game and go out there and practice, just myself, practice. As I said, my town, I never found really friends that wanted to play football with me. So I had to play with the wall. I had to play with my ball. I had to go to buy bread by dribbling the ball from home to the grocery shopping and come back with the ball, dribble my ball to school, come back. So I found the way to improve myself really with just myself. And then on the weekends, I was lucky enough to play with my dad. But I was myself who drove my dad to the park to play. I never was asked to go to the park and play with my dad, right? So I think that I built my skills and my talent through this autodidactic way. And after 2 years playing at my town, a big club or a good recognized club for development in Barcelona came to sign me. And I was there. That was a step further on my journey as a 9 years old. And I didn't want to leave my town because I was happy. I was just happy playing there. But my dad and my mom made me see that I was playing already with 2 years old, like players with 2 years old. And then that by going to this club, I will play with kids my age that are more skillful, and that will make me more happy and blah, blah, blah. And it's interesting. I got the little trophy with the maximum score in 98 playing for the U10s. And then in 99, I got the title with the maximum score playing with the U9s. Right? So I went to that club and again, yeah, my skillful, my skills allowed me to play really, really well. And then is when Club Football Dam came to sign me and one of my teammates. And Club Football Dam is a big club in Catalonia and Spain. They are a good youth development club that they have from U10s to U19s, not professional club. Most of the players at the time went to Barcelona, Espanyol, Villarreal, different professional clubs in Spain when they finished their career. So I went there with 10 years old. I played there. I came back then later on Espanyol. And I made my youth career between those two clubs, spending 7 years straight to one, 3 or 4 in the other one. I'm not someone that I like change or constant change. I like momentum. I like to build consistency. I like to be with the same people. And I made the U14, U16 provincial team for Catalonia. I was able to play around the best players in Catalonia my age, year down, year up, because I always played at the top divisions. In Spain, is based on promotion relegation all the way from U7 to U19. You have promotion relegation at all ages. So thanks to my skills and to my focus and attention to soccer, I always be able to keep myself playing on those levels. So players like Bojan Kirkic out of Montreal now, or Victor Rodriguez from Seattle Sounders, who scored against TFC in the last final, Thiago Alcantara, Jonathan Dos Santos, Giovanni Dos Santos, Christian Tello at Betis, Zoe Fidel at Betis as well, Marc Bartra. Those are the kind of players that I was playing around based on my age. And it's interesting because I see those players and I see how many talented players were at that time playing with me or against me that they never make it. And that opens your eyes on how non-linear is that pathway and who makes it and who's not, right?
Yeah.
And I think one of my points is at the age of 17 when I started playing for a third division club, and that time it's tough. From 14 to 15 years old, I started getting a lot of injuries, hamstring injuries. I was a winger, very fast player, sprint. So I was tall as well. So when you are in that physical growth and you don't have the proper stretching or the proper caring of yourself in terms of physiology, I never had a big injury, but this succession of injuries back to back that keep you out for a week, keep you out for 3 weeks. You are not patient enough because at that age you think that you are missing opportunities when you are not on the field. And I had Real Madrid on my back door trying to sign me a contract with 16 years old. I was there with my family to sign in December of 2016, and I was injured for a month and a half. And I just get back 3 weeks, like 3 weeks before I should get back, right? So a lot of bad decisions at the time. And even people wanted to stop me and say, Eric, just take care of yourself, get healthy. You are not able to see the potential consequences of those bad decisions. You are just thinking on getting back on the field and prove that people that you are the right guy, that you want to make that step. So at the age of 17, playing at third division, I finished my high school and my batch year in Spain, which is 2 years after high school to go to university. And I get the opportunity to go to university and to do the degree in physical education and sports science that I got 4 years later. So at that moment, I had to think and say, what do I do? Like, I keep playing, which I love, but I'm spending more time off the field because of injuries. Because when you are back, you don't have the confidence, you are not 100% healthy, like, and you know how non-linear is that pathway. So I can spend all my time and energy trying to make it as a footballer and not be successful. And I can spend that time, that knowledge, and this background in coaching and trying to make or support other people to make it. If not, just try to help them to get the best out of them, right? So at that time, I decided to go to university. At this moment, I was coaching already. I was coaching and I will get back in time on when I start coaching. So that year, it was 2008. I stopped playing from September to December for 2 or 3 months. I figured out a way to come back to play. And the main reason I stopped playing is because at university, I had the afternoon block. So you can go to school from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. in Spain, or then you have the 3 p.m. to 9 p.m., right? So the time that they gave me is the 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. At this time, I was training twice at 4 p.m. in the afternoon and twice at 7 p.m. in the afternoon. So I had to stop training. So what I did is I signed up for university. I started university. I stopped coaching children. I stopped playing. And then 2 months later, one of my mentors asked me that, Eric, if you are not playing, just come to play for me. 4th, 5th division in Spain, like a lower league. They train it like 3 times a week, 9 p.m. I said, okay. So I finish university 9 p.m. I can get out 20 minutes before, get to soccer and train. So I can make myself a few more years playing at this level. But it was tough to manage university, playing. I got back to coaching the second year of university. So it was tough. The second year of university, I was able to manage a trick between myself and one familiar that had a company. So they signed me a contract to work in the afternoon hours. So I can tell the university, if I don't work, I can pay for university. So you have to give me the morning time. So now I can work and come to university, right? So I kind of get that, and I did it for football. I need to go to university in the morning and to be able to coach in the afternoon. So I did that, and yeah, I had a good time. I learned from coaches at this level as well, and that was my main reason: keep myself playing, but more that for the love of playing, to start putting myself on a coaching mind and learn from them. And yeah, if I get back to when I started coaching, I was 14 when my younger brother, who is 6 years older, younger than me, he was playing at the same club. So two different facilities, same club, two different facilities, one for the younger ones, one for the older ones. And I always loved my brother. I always supported my brother. So when he was in training, I was there watching him. And when he finished training, I just had a snack with him and I went to my training. So the technical director at the time was the technical director that signed me as a player for this club. And he saw me on the stands every day. Like, he saw me there. Everybody was on the bar. All the parents were drinking beer or having a Frankfurt on the bar. And I was there sitting, watching the session, watching my brother. And he came to me once and said, Eric, are you going to be here every day? I said, yeah, my brother is training. So what I have to do, like, I'm here with my brother. Then my mother will drive me and my brother to my training facility. I will go training while my mother drives my brother home to have a dinner, right?
Yeah.
And he said, and when you like to be on the field and help the coach. So it's not really my decision. At this time, it just came to me. So football came to me as a coaching opportunity. And I did this for 2 years. My brother was there. I supported the coach as an assistant coach, 14, 15 years old I was at the time. And then this coach moved on to do different things. I moved into a head coach with 16 years old. I did 16 and 17 years old. I coached a few years there. I stopped for university. For the first year of university, I didn't coach. And then on my second year of university, I started doing, I started at Espanyol, but not at the academy club. I started the Barcelona scholars that they have, or they had here in Toronto. So kind of the same, but at the main facility where the academy is. And I did my project with the Espanyol under 18, with the academy under 18, because the coach, again, I was watching the sessions to do a project at university. I was on the stands. The coach knew me as a player, as a former player. So he said, Eric, what are you doing here? I said, just taking notes and doing a project for university. I said, and how long are you going to be here? I said, the next 4 months. I'm doing a project. I said, would you like to be with me on the field? So I started working with him on the field as an assistant. He had his staff, so as an assistant outside of his staff. So I was supporting in training sessions with equipment, with the material, and then I went to the games, filming, helping with analysis. And then my project for university, I presented to him, and he loved it. So what he did is presented to the academy at Espanyol and said, look, you have this guy working for the Schola. You better give him a chance with the youth teams. Yeah. And then I started that way. They gave me a U9. It was a U9 at the academy. So I was coaching the U9 the first year, then moved into the U10s, stay on the U10s for 2 years, then move into the 11s, 12s. And I spent 8 years in the academy coaching at the youth level. Wow. And then until the moment I decided to leave and come to Canada and work for Hyper, which was another huge moment in my life.
Well, you mentioned a few interesting things, but I think the biggest lesson myself can take from that as a coach is, you got to show that initiative. You got to put yourself out there. You got to try to observe, learn, take your chances, and then opportunities will come up like that. So that's very interesting.
I think on those lines, I was hearing Pochettino last week, and Pochettino was saying something his mentor, Jorge Grifa, tell him. Jorge Grifa is a legend in Argentinian football. He's Pochettino's mentor, but Marcelo Bielsa's mentor as well. And he said, football is going to take you where football wants, not where you want to go. Trust and do everything you have to do, so the decision that football is going to make for you finds you ready. Yeah. So that's all you can hope for, right? Like that football is going to bring you somewhere that you want to be and you are ready to, or you're at the level of the challenge.
For sure. You also mentioned something very interesting. You mentioned how you started as a basketball player, and you did both sports for a couple of years, for 2 years. That's very interesting because even now I have some of my players' parents, come up to me and say, my son has a conflict with hockey. We don't know which one to decide. And I always try to push them and encourage them to stick to both sports for as long as possible, until they really have to make a decision, if they can afford it, if they can, make it work. Because I feel like it's good for development. And I think scientifically it's been proven that, playing multi-sports at young ages, it in terms of physical literacy will help the kids' development. So if you want to touch on that, something for the parents, for the players to really stick to it if they can afford it, or if they can make it work, I think.
Yeah. Look, my story is not by design, it's by chance. So my parents just wanted me to do some sport. And as I said, I started doing one thing 2 days, and then basketball because it was the only option. Something I found crazy in North America, and I'm very sorry for all the families and their children. Organized sport is so expensive. It's so expensive. When I was playing basketball, I think it was $30 a month for my parents. So I paid $30 a month to play basketball twice plus a game, and maybe $40 or $30 a month to play football and a game. So the decision of playing one is more to not being able to enjoy both sports on the weekend because of the conflicts. And people start talking, oh, why your son didn't came last weekend and this and that. And I don't know at the time. I never made the question. I was 8. So my dad and my mother said, like, just choose one and play. But that being said, I never mentioned, after I picked soccer, I remember at the age of 11 to combine soccer 3 times a week plus a game with a year of tennis, where I went to play tennis once or twice. And then I did swim because I love to swim, and not go to swim once. Or I do believe that my success in terms of soccer skills, that the success I had, is because of my former years on the multi-sport activity. When I was 4, 5, 6, like I was able to run, jump, throw a ball, kick a ball, catch a ball. So all those skills
Fundamental
allowed
skills.
me. Yeah. Later on, when I was at university and we were through all the fundamentals of sport, we did basketball, baseball, football, tennis. I'm not the best one in all sports, but I'm able to play and enjoy all of those sports. Volleyball, like you will see me and say, yeah, he's not going to make a career of that, but you won't point at me at, oh, he's the worst of the group. Like I have those fundamental skills that I developed at a very young age. And I encourage all kids from a young age just to do physical activity, like to be rich in physical activity and those fundamental skills, being able to run, to stop, to change direction, to jump, to catch, to throw, to kick, to the disassociation between eyes or hands and feet. Yeah. But that being said, I think that there is a lot of transfer between sports, not just on the technical and physical side, on the tactical side as well, in terms of movements and how you can read and understand the space. But I do think that football is something you have to specialize. And it's important that you start young as well. And with the specializing means you have your 2 or 3 trainings a week. Yeah. You have to stick to that. And then you can do basketball, hockey, or baseball to complement, to do other things that football doesn't develop on you. But football is such a difficult sport to be able to manage the object of the game, which is the ball, which normally is on the ground, and keep your head up to see everything that is happening on the field, while being able to project those skills with your feet. It's tough. Yeah. So I do believe that the early the players start to develop those skills, the easier they have to become better players.
Let's talk about your work with Canada Soccer. Obviously, you're the head coach of the U15 national team. How much at that level do you guys focus on the development of the young players? How much do the results impact your decisions at that level?
Look, the development of the players is always first. It's a reality in the international context, when how much impact do we have on player development? It's limited. It's limited because of the contacts that we have with the players. I believe that in this context, the ones that develop the players is you guys. You have those players in a daily basis, in a weekly basis. You can take them for 2 or 3 sessions, go to the game, take those learnings into the next session, work in their individual development plans. Like, you are the guys that are developing them. What we do is we follow, we scout, and we select players. So we select, we identify, we bring them to the national team, and then we try to progress them through the system. Now, when they are coming into camp, or even pre-camp, during camp, and post-camp, we do a lot of things to develop them. So all the one-on-one connects we do with them is to develop them, to raise awareness on their strengths, to raise awareness on their growth areas, to support them to understand our models, our philosophy, our platforms, our pressing strategies. So those are the kinds of things that we do in development, the sessions, the unit meetings, the team meetings. But we always keep this individual development in mind within a team framework as well. And related to the results are really important on the international level. So I'm going to take the 17s as an example, who I was as assistant coach with Andrew Olivieri this past cycle. It's very important for us to qualify for a World Cup, but not for us as a program. For us as a program to support the development of those players. So how much we were able to impact the development of those players, just providing them an opportunity to play a World Cup and at the age of 16 or 17 years old. So coming out of this World Cup, we have Gianfranco Faccineri, we had Damiano Piccile at the Whitecaps signing professional contracts, Jayden Nelson signing a professional contract, and Ralph Priest at TFC. Jayden Nelson already made three caps with Canada and scoring 1 goal. This past week, Christian Ferdinand and Thomas Giraldo signing professional contract with the Montreal Impact. I think those are the results that you are looking for. Not to say we qualified, we played, we win, but to provide players with the opportunity to play meaningful matches. And meaningful matches is playing in Brazil, against Brazil in a World Cup, playing against Angola, against New Zealand, against Argentina at the Argentina Federation, against Mexico. So those 17 years old players that just didn't play a qualifier and a World Cup, they were able to play against Brazil, which is U17 world champion, and against Mexico in our preparation, which is the team that made it to the final against Brazil. So that's the experience. That's the way we can develop and support the player development in our program. So at the 15 level is the same. If we go to the group stage and we don't qualify for a knockout stage, those players won't have the opportunity to play against Mexico. They won't have the opportunity to measure themselves against Slovenia on a semi-final. So again, it's not to prove that we are doing good things or that we are good at what we do. Is to support players to gain experience and meaningful matches, which supports player development.
Exactly. And then once they play for the national team, I think they will already have those experiences under their sleeves, and it will be very useful. Amongst the coaches, a couple of weeks ago, we had this discussion of, at one point, do we stop? What are we looking to technically develop young players and youth players? And at one point, do we focus more on the decision making of those young players? When does the switch happen, or are we focusing more on decision making, and then do we along the way also work on the technical? Can you just touch upon that?
Yeah, that will bring us 4 hours of debate. I'm not sure if I always been able to express myself with enough clarity, or if I'm kind of thinking differently. But what I've learned, or how I understand people, how I understand the sport, is that you cannot separate decision making and technique, and you cannot separate fitness and technique, or fitness and decision making. It's all integrated. And there is a big discussion around isolated training or small-sided games, and I don't want to get on that, because I don't hold the truth, and I believe that both systems help, especially if you drove those systems or those methodologies on the right way. But what I look back and why I started to play soccer. I started to play soccer because of the ball, and I started to play soccer because of the ball and putting that ball in the back of the net. And something I loved as a player, and that's my personal bias. But I love to pass through players, so I love to dribble, and always I look to dribble players, to pass through the gap of players, to find gaps, to exploit gaps. So I see that through small-sided games, one-on-one, 2 against 1, 2 against 2, 3 against 3 is the most meaningful way of training. First, because you don't need to put your head in, okay, so I'm going to do this to improve the player technically. I'm going to do this circuit to improve their fitness or their physical literacy. And I'm going to do this to improve their tactics. You just put it all together. And you just don't put it together. You just put the game there, and the game holds everything together, right?
Yeah.
the way when they are growing and we are looking at 14, 15, 16 years old is to find the right constraints to allow players to play the game while you constrain the activity to support their physical and bioenergetic systems as well, right? So you cannot play 3v3 for the whole session. You cannot play 3v3 for your whole microcycle. You have to train the game in the small-sided format, but you have to train the game on the big format, and then you have to support players to transition between big to small space and small to big space. How many times you have a possession on a game in one side and there is a big switch, and then everybody has to shift around. So if you play 3v3 all the time in training, how many times those players do that sprint from one side to the other, or to defend their backline, or to sprint in a counterattack? So I believe that by playing the game is not just doing 3v3s or 11v11s, but you constrain that there is always a presence of opposition, a presence of teammates and collaboration, and there is always a way that you want to score. It might be a mini net, it might be a big net, it might be an end zone, it might be a square, but there is always this, something that you want to achieve, somebody that is trying you to then let you achieve what you are trying to do and achieve what you don't want let them to achieve, and someone that is supporting or helping you.
You also mentioned how the clubs and the coaches like myself are the ones that are working with the players constantly, and then players through community clubs, through their regional clubs, they end up at the national camps and stuff. I think that's the purpose of the regional Excel program that you're in charge of, that to educate the clubs, to show your philosophies, your models, so that I think all together as a nation that we can all have a similar vision in developing these players. How important do you think this club development, this coach development is in player development?
I think it's key, and there is a statement that says that is your pathway into towards personal mastery. Personal mastery as a coach, as a club, as a player. I think the problem with personal mastery is that, one, you don't start this pathway, or two, you start it and you don't end it. And to end it, you have to go all the way. And I look at myself, because it's the only person I have more information about. I don't see myself finishing this pathway. So I don't see myself in 2 years being able to coach everything or at my best level. I believe that in the next year, I will be learning new things. In the next year, I will learn new things. And it's a continuum process of learning, but not just learning. What I've learned 10 years ago, it might not help me in the next 2 years, because the world is changing. And the way we were communicating before is different than how we communicate now. The tactics that we used before, it may be different than the tactics that we use in the future. There is always principles that will stack and will be the same, but you have to be flexible, and that's just through education, being able to adjust, being able to adapt. And that's what I think. I always had this mentality or that mindset of being I don't know if it's the right word in English, autodidactic. So it's not about me signing for courses, signing for masters. It's about reading books, listening to podcasts, going to watch the basketball coach, going to watch the football coach, having a conversation with a psychologist or with an optometrist, and getting the best learning from all those guys and connecting the dots, like what he told me that I'm doing here and what he said or what I saw here, putting all together. And that's how I learn. And I think that's how a lot of humans are being learned as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think one of the biggest reasons for that is because ultimately we're dealing with people, with players, and these are human beings. And these people, these young players or older players, as our society changes, their way of thinking, their way of life, the way they want to experience the game, it develops and it changes. And as coaches, parents, clubs, we have to adapt to that and not try to stop them from developing and changing and progressing to follow our philosophies and ideas. So I think it's really important to be able to recognize that and realize that, at the end of the day, we are dealing with people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From a kind of a soccer point of view, the overarching goal of the men's Excel vision is to have more players playing at the tier 1 and tier 2 professional levels. And that's to generate a stronger men's national team player pool that is capable to finish consistently at the top 3 on CONCACAF. So that's the overall vision that we have at the Canada Soccer men's Excel program. and how we want to do this is what you experience, you and your teammates at the club or colleagues experience through the regional Excel program. So we want to synergize and align the football system. And you've seen that we have different goals. So goal one is all about men's national team to qualify at win at the World Cups. And goal two is the integration with the CPL that Mauro Biello does with the CPL clubs at the professional level to get those U20, U23 into the national team player pool. Then we have the MLS or Pro Academy integration through Toronto FC, Vancouver, and the Whitecaps and the Montreal Impact. And then at goal three, which is the regional Excel level, is this integration with Canada Soccer and the provinces. And when I do, I'm talking with you, and Toronto High Park belongs to Ontario Soccer as provincial soccer organization. All the work that we do, that integration with Ontario Soccer, the ultimate goal is to synergize our system with Ontario Soccer, and that Ontario Soccer filters into every single club that are national youth license clubs and OPDL license holders. So that's the way how we go from top to bottom to try to affect, in this case, you and your colleagues at the club, being able to open the webinars or the workshop that we did before COVID-19, where you are able to come to see a training session with the U15s in Toronto, or coaches in Vancouver were able to come and see how we work with the Whitecaps, same in Montreal. So opening our sessions, having workshops to just show what we do at the international level, and to see what you can see, what dots can you connect between what we do and what you have in your context at the club, and create a little bit of your own. Is a copy to create. You cannot copy paste because there are different scenarios, different contexts, different players, different structures. So it's about copy and create. You have the idea, you like that idea, you think that might work, you bring it to your context, and now you adjust it and adapt it to your context. So that's the way we believe that we can do it. And through this quarter two of 2020, we've been able to do 9 webinars through online systems. We put the online platform together. So now coaches from coast to coast, we have 530 coaches that are able to access these materials on the online platform. We were able to impact 1,800 coaches within these 9 webinars. So that's the way we try to expand and share knowledge. And I call it knowledge. I think it's good information, but at least if it is not knowledge, or if you understand that it's not good enough or it's not quality, at least we want to be transparent on what we do, why we do it, and how we do it.
Yeah, I think that's the key word, the transparency, from the national team all the way to the community clubs. I think it's really fantastic, and it's very inspirational to watch and to listen, to you guys, to see how you guys deliver, what's the logic, what's the thought behind everything that you guys do, and then what we can take from that and deliver in our own clubs and communities. So that's really, really great. Before we wrap it up, I just want to see if you can think of any fond memories of Toronto High Park, your time, your coaching experiences there, working with some of our coaches. Is there anything that you want to mention?
I'm sure that if we sit down and we start looking at the past years, I will find a lot. But something that always is in my mind is the people. As I said, people. If I look back at the time, I don't believe in organizations. I look back at my years as a player. I look back at my years as a coach, and I look back at those organizations, and I believe in people and the people that was in those organizations. My experiences, I had 7 years on a club as a coach, and I had 7 years in a different club as a player, and I was able to experience the same organization with different leadership and how the organization changes based on who is leading that organization, right? So I strongly believe in people, and it's my pleasure. I still live in the neighborhood, so when I go for a walk, when I go for a run, when I'm working out at High Park and I see some parents or some players, or I talk to some coaches on WhatsApp or I phone them here, that's what's stuck with me, right? Like that they still remember me, that I have good memories about them. So when I see somebody, I remember the good times on the field, or I remember the good times in the office, or I remember the good times that we had together at the club. And I'm sure that if I deep dive, I will find a good story with each one of the people I share my time back at the club.
And finally, if you could give one advice to a young youth developing player that's 12 years old, 13, 14, that has the ambition to represent Canada one day at a World Cup, what would that advice be?
that's tough, and I think it's tough just because of the human nature, and each one is different. So maybe the advice I can give to them is what worked for me, but they don't necessarily need to be the way I was, and not because of not being like me, that means that they won't get success. Everybody has different talents and different ways and different paths to success, and different definitions of what success means. What I've been able to learn is that, and you can relate that back to my coaching, my player career, is mindfulness. You have to live in the moment, and being able to enjoy the moment. And when I was back in the day, I was pushing myself too hard to achieve what I wanted to achieve as a player. So I was working hard in training, but I was working extremely hard outside of training. And champions always have to do extra, and that's something I had always in mind growing up. But I did something else than extra. I do too much to be enough, to not be fresh on the weekend sometimes, to accumulate fatigue, to accumulate or pick little injuries. So just don't think that on that scholarship. Don't think on make it to the national team or to the MLS, or work toward that, but enjoy the moment. Enjoy every single practice, and enjoy every single moment with your teammates, and enjoy every single game. Enjoy every single minute on the bench. And something that will lead into that is that the secret of your future is hidden in your daily routine. So your daily routine, sticking to a strong routine with a strong habits, positive habits, with daily rest, daily training, daily study, daily improvement, and living the moment. I think that's the best general advice that I can give into them, and then everyone's talents and pathways will lead them to the best they can be.
Fabulous. 100%. Couldn't have said it better. Well, that's it, Eric. Thank you so much again on behalf of myself and Toronto High Park Football Club. Thank you so much for your time. I know you're a busy man. I know you have a lot going on. So I really, really appreciate your time. And if you have anything else, I'm all ears. If not, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you very much. I just want to take the opportunity to thank the club, thank the parents, the players, all the coaches that are at the club, that were at the club, and it was just such a pleasure to work there for 2 years. My first club when I moved from Barcelona to Toronto, so it was a huge and immense experience at the personal level and at the professional level as well. So I'm always thankful to the club for everything they did to me. And I look back and I know I did my best, but I always have the feeling and the sensation that I could have done better. So I apologize for everything I haven't done, and I just will take any opportunity to support them in the future if there is an opportunity.
You've done great. Thank you very much, Eric.
Thank you, Shaheen.
So that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed the show. Hope you enjoyed the discussion with Eric. Once again, on behalf of myself and Toronto High Park Football Club, I would like to thank Canada Soccer and Eric for being on the podcast. If you enjoyed this video or this podcast, please like, share, subscribe, and we will see you next time. Take care.